Everyone, welcome to the Retro Channel. This is a Commodore 1084 that has the red gun not working in it. To be honest, it's actually a 1081 board and a 1084 CRT and case. The reason for the sort of Frankenstein here is because Jason, Mr. Lurch, in his recent Amiga 2000 video, actually had his 1081 die. The red gun went out on it, and in order to get it back up and running so he could finish the video, because that had already gone on for so long, the poor bastard, I took my 1084 over there and we pretty much did a board swap. Yeah, he was running out of time and we just said, look, we can't figure out what the issue is right now, so fuck it, let's just swap the boards over and at least he can finish his video. And I've ended up with a broken 1084. How did that happen? Anyway, I am more than happy to take a look at it, so let's check this out. So we have no red. There should be a big red splodge right there. In fact, there is red. Just. What the hell? Definitely didn't have red before. What? I'm just going to adjust the biasing a little bit. Alright, let me bring the camera around, I'll show you what I'm doing. Now obviously this is a live CRT and there are some very high voltages, so please treat this not as a tutorial. This is just a educational video. So what I'm doing is just adjusting this control up here, which adjusts the red drive, and you can just see it on the overhead camera that bringing up the red drive does bring back some of our red, but it also makes the entire screen turn red as well. And it's definitely nowhere near the intensity of the blue and green lines. So there's definitely an issue with the red drive, but it does mean that we are actually getting red because I can see it sort of ramp up across the screen. The red has now disappeared. Even turning the red drive up to the max now results in no red. Doesn't even change the screen at all. So that's kind of interesting. I wonder if perhaps the red drive transistor has failed or something around the neckboard here. It's possible there's something on the main board, but first I'm going to focus on the stuff on the neckboard, I think. Now, what's kind of handy is I actually printed out the schematics for this thing. So this is for, it looks like the 1084 without SCART. So that's probably working out the SCART mod for the SCARTless 1084s. But we can see that off the I guess you call it the jungle, there is, I think this is blue, green, and red. These head over onto the neckboard and eventually end up at our guns. So we want to focus on, obviously, the red gun. So that's sort of the path that the red takes all the way up to the gun itself. We can pretty much ignore this stuff coming down here because that heads back to the flyback, and if there was an issue there, none of these would be working. So it really is just this kind of signal path and amplification circuit that we want to focus on. Now thankfully, because we do have red, green and blue, all of these should look pretty similar along this path. There might be a slight difference in voltage at the actual guns, so we can pretty much just compare what each one is doing and see what the difference is on the red path. So I do have this CRT running through an isolation transformer. Again, this is very much just an educational video. Do not try this at home. So we're going to look at the, I guess we'll look at the drive transistor on the neck board, which is TS711. This pin up here is the base, so 12 volts there is correct. That's perfectly fine. The middle pin is the collector, which does have 104 volts on it, and it does look like there is a signal there, and the emitter has our unamplified signal hovering at around between 5 and 10 volts. That seems about right. So the problem could be further down the line. Let's just compare it to one of the other colors. TS713 is the blue channel. Let's have a look on there. 12 volts at the base, naturally. 96 volts at the collector, so you can see that is our amplified signal. Have a look at the collector on this one though. Look at that. So we're seeing 106 volts, so the voltage would appear to be slightly higher. I mean, that's mean. That's a mean reading. Don't be so mean. So both voltages there look similar, but the big difference is the signal there is obviously nice and varied. The signal here is basically crushed. So that's probably why we're just seeing the slightest hint of red on the screen. But the input signal, which is at the emitter, bring that back up. The input signal is 7 volts peak to peak there. Let's have a look at the input signal on one of the other channels. It's flat. What? Do I still have color bars on the screen? Yes. That's not what I expected. All the other colors, the emitter is flat. On this one, there's a huge variance there. So with the signal AC coupled, got about 75 volts peak to peak there on the base. On the collector. And on this one, we've got about 12 volts peak to peak on the collector. And yeah, again, 64 volts peak to peak. So that's really bizarre. Is it the transistor? Is it before the transistor? Is it after the transistor? So we're seeing a really large variance on this side and a really small variance on this side. And on the other transistors, it seems to be the opposite. Let's move back a little bit. Let's head back to these 3 transistors, which are on the main board. So let's have a look at what's happening at TS604, 605, and 606. Where are they? So 604 is our red. So it looks like there's our red input signal coming in at the base. And 605 looks pretty much the same, as does 606. So pretty much all 3 guns, or all 3 input signals look almost the same. This one looks a little bit crushed here. And this is being amplified at the collector. So that's the red collector. And yeah, again, the other colors look like almost nothing at the collector. 7.4 volts peak to peak, but collector on the other 2 guns is like 1 volt maybe. And there's a lot of noise. So at this point, there's almost too much red. Alright, let's head back to TS501 because this is actually outputting all these signals. So pin 1 is red. Pin 3 is green. And pin 5 is blue. So that looks a lot like that, which looks a lot like that. So at that point, they all seem to be fine. Something happens. Well, there's a 470 ohm resistor on the red, but only 120 ohms on the other 2. Well, that's going to stuff me up. Alright, R601 and R602. So these are going to look a little bit different then. Oh, and that's probably because the green and the blue will have probably biasing, whereas the red doesn't. You can adjust the drive on the red gun, but only the green and blue get biased. So So that's probably what's going on. In fact, that'd be those two there, R605 and R606 would adjust the biasing on them. And the red is just fixed at a certain level. This is an exciting video, isn't it, kids? How am I going to edit this to make it interesting? Man stares at problem for half an hour and doesn't figure out anything. I think this just here is the resistors. They're not labelled on this side of the board, but if they go through these three inductors, so everything should look the same there, which it does. And then this would be our 470 ohm resistor, surely, which pops out here. Yes, that's our 470 ohm resistor there. And then that heads into the base of that transistor. And our 470 ohm resistor looks like it's doing its job then, because it's like that, and then it ends up like that. So I think the reason the signal looks different on the other two colors is just because of that, those variable biasing resistors. So I think at this point everything is still correct, even though it looks a little bit odd. That's not the issue. So it seems everything up to this point is okay. So the issue seems to come after TS604. Well, it starts at the collector of TS604. So it could be that transistor. It could be TS711, which is the drive transistor for the red gun. Or it could be one of these components coming off it. And the collector of that goes straight to the emitter of TS711 on the neckboard. So I'm going to flip the monitor back over and we'll take a close look at these components on the neckboard there. And yeah, looking at the neckboard itself, nothing obvious stands out. There's no charred components or anything, so yeah, no visible signs of damage. There's just a little bit of dust, especially on those caps over that side there, but that's just dust. This thing was really cruddy when I first got it. Yeah, something strange happens between those 2 points. And the only thing in between that is R707, which isn't labelled. So this is R707 here, which is connected to the emitter, and that comes out over here, and the signal's still there. That goes into this trim pot, and that's got 12 volts and ground. So yeah, trim pot seems to be working. R707 is dropping some kind of voltage, but it definitely seems to be working and it's not crushing everything completely. And on the other side, the collector side, there's R714, which goes up to 125 volts. That's got to be there because we saw over 100 volts at the collector before. So yeah, 106 volts at the collector, which is very similar to the collector of one of these, except we can actually see the signal on the other colors. I'm thinking it's probably the red drive transistor. I'm just going to pull that out and swap it over with this one here. I think that's the green. And if I'm right, then we should have our red back and we should lose green. Maybe. Well, while we've got them out, may as well test them. Pretty sure that was the red. Shit. Alright, so this is the red drive transistor. Yeah. Still identifies it as an NPN transistor. Full drop of 808 millivolts. Let's see what the other one looks like. Right, so the other one is just showing up as 2 diodes. So maybe was that the red one? Yeah, this is just showing us 2 diodes. I'm gonna put this one where the blue gun should have been. So I'm gonna install this where the blue gun goes. and I'm just going to leave the other one out, see if the blue one stops working. Right, so at the moment I've got the 2 diode reading transistor in the blue channel and nothing installed in the red channel. Let's see what colors we actually get on the screen. I have only blue. There's a good chance that that's actually the green channel then. But yeah, looks like that transistor is bad. So if I stick this one in the red channel, that should bring the red channel back, and then we'll be missing green instead. All right, so we should have red and blue this time. And we do. Red and blue, no green. So that's pretty funny. We now have a CRT with a red and a blue gun and no green. So yeah, definitely that transistor was at fault, and yeah, it was testing as 2 diodes. So it hadn't gone open or short, it just stopped acting as a transistor and amplifying stuff. So there you go. I'll have to source a replacement one, I guess. Right, so the replacement transistor arrived. It's a BF869, so let's install that, see what happens. All right, let's power it on, see what happens. I can hear it running. Okay. Right, so this stuffed me out before. There's a green button on the Commodore 1081, but there isn't one on the 1084. So because this is a 1084 front face, there's no hole where the green button would normally be. So every time I push the board back in, it pushes down that green switch. Give me 1 sec. There it is. Thank God for my little green button pushery tool. Cool. It is back up and running. The screen looks a little bit funny, but that's kind of because this isn't the original CRT for this board. So what I need to do now is contact Mr. Lurch and swap these boards and the neckboards back over, and we should be golden. All right, and then there were 2. So I have Jason here, Mr. Lurch, and he has brought over the original 1081. So we've done a quick board swap, and now it's just time for a little bit of calibration. Let's swing this around. Oh my God, that looks very green. So the 1081 is back to normal and everything is right with the universe. As for the 1084, I'll fix that up off camera, but you get an idea of what it's going to look like. And Mr. Lurch,
Hello.
this is all yours again.
It is. Hi. I'd come in closer, but the whole back shell is like, hang on.
Yeah, step over the rear case and try not to die.
Hi. Yeah, the one thing that really annoys me with this monitor is the power cable doesn't it's a big job to unhook the power cable and get it through the case. So
Yeah. So
it's on the ground.
There's a rear case sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
This one's back to you. Don't forget to plug in the speaker before you put the screws back in.
Yeah, because we've never done that before.
Never. Professionals.
Yeah. All right. Cool. This can go back and
yeah.
So for those who are interested, this is the monitor that died about 3/4 of the way through my Amiga 2000 video. One of the many, many things that went wrong in that video. But it will now go back into service as I work on an Amiga 1000.
2000. No,
No.
1000. Yes,
I am working on a 1000.
You've got too many Amigas, man.
Yeah, well, true.
1000s, 2000s, 10,000s.
Maybe he'll
4,000.
get back to his 1000.
Yeah, maybe.
Righto.
So, as always, thanks for watching, and a massive thanks to the people that support the channel on Patreon, like this guy, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Cool.
Yeah. Have a look where I am in frame if I stand up.
Yeah. Get down here, man. And then
Bring your red down. Because now your black's really red, which is expected.
Yeah.
That's it. Got it.
Yeah. They all look pretty even.
Yeah, maybe just bring the red down just a hair more.
Just a touch.
That's it.
Nice.